Please join me in welcoming Dr. Alaa Guidara. And let me give you a little brief bio. Dr. Alaa Guidara is a distinguished professor of finance and an ambassador for the National Crowdfunding and FinTech Association, NCFA. No pun intended, not my firm, but very close acronym, so it has to be very powerful. He is a founding and board member of prominent companies in Islamic finance, including Finisbia and S7 Equity. The innovative financial solutions are used in over 50 countries. Dr. Guidara holds a PhD in finance and in insurance from Laval University, Canada, and a postgraduate diploma in Islamic banking and insurance from the Islamic Banking and Insurance Institute, London, UK. Actively engaged in research, he serves as a reviewer for leading academic journals and conferences. His work has been published in top-tier journals, including the Journal of Applied Economics and the Journal of Banking and Finance, amongst others. And so please, he's also recognized in the area of tokenization, which is huge. And so please join me in welcoming him to the stage.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Dear respected brother and sister, dear guests, distinguished scholars, dear students and practitioners on the room, thanks for making it today here. I know a lot of people were traveling long distance, Indonesia, Malaysia. I was really impressed. I was just coming from not far compared to those who are coming and flying from 20 hours and 18 hours. Thanks really for making it to this conference. Special thanks also to Guidance College, the Muslim Philanthropy Initiative as well, the organizing committee, the sponsors for putting all of this together. I'm really glad to see the Islamic finance space is getting more and more vibrant. A lot to do, but still it's really encouraging to be connected with like-minded people. We really appreciate yesterday the meeting, the 5 to 7 or the 5 to 8, okay? It was really great to connect, and as Dr. Main mentioned, try and really appreciate what you mentioned, Dr. Main. You mentioned try to listen deep, try to connect intentionally, and try to have an action plan. That was really well done, and we're trying to do that today. So, part of this dynamic and vibrant community, as I mentioned, of Islamic finance space, couple of private equity popped up in the last couple of years, which is great, which is encouraging. That means we're on the right track. Private equity, investment company, investment firms, I think maybe a handful in the US, a couple of in Canada. Today, I'm gonna go and dive in more details into one of the cases. We started with a UFI presentation. It was really macro, which is great, nice insights. Now I'm just gonna go into some kind of micro level, okay? So the main objective is to share an experience. I'm not saying it's the best experience. Hopefully you're gonna have something positive out of it. And it's actually related to the social impact role of Waqf. It's good to talk about Waqf, it's good to talk about Zakat. Now, we're gonna see something in practice, something really on the ground. So that's basically the main objective of this presentation. So very quickly, we're gonna just check the difference between Waqf and endowments, the roles of Waqf, and then we're gonna focus on the social impact. So you can imagine there are so many roles of Waqf here, but we're gonna focus on the social impact. Then we're gonna focus on the case study. Just to start on the right foundations, everyone has the same definition. So when we're talking with waqf here, and specifically we're talking about waqf fund. So that's why I mentioned it's financial assets here, okay? That has basically three components. The principle is preserved, so we try to keep that principle, okay? We try to invest the income, so the income is reinvested, and obviously we try to keep sustainability, and that's connected to the topic of the conference, the sustainability. So this is, in general, the endowments fund. Now, when it comes to waqf, the Islamic version of endowments, mainly that components of investment, this part here. So this one would be, we'll try to invest it on a Sharia compliant manner. So, you know, the narrative, we need to avoid the interest, we need to apply with the standards, so on and so forth. So this waqf, usually it has a certain roles from preserving the wealth. So, you know, the traditional model, a lot of Islamic center right now, donations, which is good, but is that sustainable? That's the questions we're trying to answer, and that's the questions we're trying to raise. So waqf will come up as an alternative, as a more sustainable, and we're gonna see the example, how it works hand, you know, besides actually the philanthropy, besides the donation. Usually what distinguishes the waqf, it serves a version. It serves, a mission. So all of you know this, this image, and I wish you soon travel to those holy places. So this is the clock tower. This is waqf. This is a modern version of waqf. So this is basically, you know, it includes hotels, shopping malls, apartment, all of them under some lease managements, and all the revenues are going to maintain and develop and the maintenance for the two holy mosques in Mecca and Medina. So that is a very contemporary example of waqf. So the asset is maintained here. Here's the assets you can see. It's maintained, and we're just using the revenues out of it for the cause. Now the cause here, as you can imagine, it's really religious. Okay. Now in the example we're gonna see in a few minutes, it's obviously it's smaller than that. Okay. The example is more within the social impact role. I think the example we're gonna see, most of the Islamic centers, especially those in the downtown, will face it. So the case study is coming from a reality a lot of our Islamic center will face. Lack of parking lots. Issues with parking spots. For example, I'm just giving, as I mentioned, micro. We were talking macro level, now I'm just talking micro level. I'm trying to bring this example. So this Islamic center, they approach us, they had some issues, you know, like lack of parking space, a strained relationship with the city because of that. And there was an opportunity. There was two lots just beside the mosque, okay? However, as you can imagine, donations only are not sufficient to raise funds for those to purchase the two lots. So we tried to work on the solutions. We tried to get a little bit creative, and we tried to build a kind of waqf to purchase, to acquire those two lots, okay, and try to generate funds out of that. And this is exactly what happens. So the solution was to create a waqf. I'm gonna talk about the structure in a Canadian context, and I'm gonna talk about the structure on a US context, okay? So just created the waqf purchased that two lands, actually, and that generated income for the Islamic Center. So the income was basically, you know, coming from rental, the rental for the parking lots, and the second lots was kindergarten. So the revenue were coming to flowing back to the Islamic Center. So that was one of the use of the rental fund and the rental revenues that we generated. In Canada, actually, we have an issue, or let's say limitations. In Canada, we're not able actually to distribute income to donors, right? Because it's obviously they are donors, okay? In the US, you have this pooled income fund, which is very specific to the US, where part of the investments can also go to the donors or to the investors. Now, to overcome this, because as I mentioned, we're into a Canadian context, so we created a second fund. The second fund was more kind of commercial, okay? So we have two structures here. So the investor may invest on the waqf, okay? Or they can invest on the, it was a Mudaraba based, it was based on a joint venture agreements. They were investing on this second commercial funds, okay? And the Islamic Center actually can purchase those to exit the investors. The Islamic Center was actually purchasing from the Mudaraba structure, from the Mudaraba funds, purchasing the unit, the sukuk, and convert them to waqf as donations comes and pile up, so they were able to exit the investor. So that's the structures we tried to create. Now, what I'm saying, this is not the best structure, but it was actually here helping combine both the donation with a waqf structure for a sustainable purpose, just to make this Islamic Center up and running and to sustain itself on the long run. Our role basically was to set up the fund. So as you can see here, number one is the assessment of the need. Then with the assessments, if they need assistance to set up the fund, so we can do it. So we pick up the appropriate structure of the fund. And then if they need also administrations and management, so this is something we can do. All this was supported with technology. And to be honest, that makes the whole things easier. So first of all, the technology helped us to make a clear offering for investors through a private data room. So there was because it's private offering, so we're not doing this through crowdfunding, because for the simple reason there are regulations to respect. The Islamic Center is not allowed to do it. So it was a private offering. There was a virtual data room for the offering. There was a sukuk issuance. This is just some screenshots here. This is the contact management. This is the private data room here for the offering. The investment management, the GP portal or the admin dashboard. So this is the Islamic Center here, will be considered as the general partner. And the LPs or the investors. So pipeline management as well, because it's not straightforward. Not everyone will invest directly. So there's a lot of works in terms of converting those prospects into investors. So that was a pipeline management process and module. Then finally, the sukuk that was issued at the end of the process. So that was basically the example I wanted to share. I wanted to keep it a little bit more interactive. I'm gonna just finish maybe with the conclusion, which is not here, unfortunately, because those are not the recent slides. In conclusion, I think as Islamic finance practitioners, we should think creatively to design models that align both with local needs while complying with Sharia principles and local regulations. When I'm saying local regulation, it might be the Security Act. It might be here in the US that you should have something similar to what we have as a security commissions, the SAC here, I think. So we need to comply both with Sharia principle and those local regulations. Now, technology really played a crucial role in making this transparent and to keep the trust. So when everything is transparent, with everything you can report it, you have a clear dashboard that really enhance the trust on the platform, and that really makes the process easier. Now, the good news here on the US, guys, you have a more flexible framework, and a lot of churches are using endowment funds. A lot of churches. So the Presbyterian, I think, church, they have the PIF, the Pooled Investment Fund. They're using since 2004. You can check it online. I think this framework is more flexible compared to what we do have in Canada. Well, the worst case scenario, if we were not able to provide returns for investors, I think as we did, we can establish a second commercial funds, hand to hand with the Waqf structures. And hopefully our fundraising strategy this way will evolve toward more sustainable model. So, we just need to, yes, fundraisings are good, donations are good, but they're not enough. We should go hand in hand with the more sustainable model, such as the Waqf model that we mentioned here. That was in a very short time the experience we went through. I would love to check your feedbacks. I would love to check your questions, if any, and thank you so much.